can assure you nobody's taking that hat for this year.
But I hope he will retire after he loses.
There won't be another coach. I'm impressed with everybody but him.
It's because they're scared that they may be wrong.
Fully capable of surpassing all of them.
I'm going to give her a run for her money.
I'm coming to win. I'm not coming for fun.
Fair and unfortunate.
He's going to come with losses. It's not the end of the world.
Need for a black curtain backdrop, and I get it.
Bodybuilding is my control within chaos.
My conditioning kills.
Look, you got a really exclusive interview because I ain't been saying none of this shit, yo. I've been holding my tongue on the internet.
Yes, guys, it's been a minute. It's Beyond the Posing. Also myself, Suki BTS TV, and of course, I've got the Posing Pro, probably someone you've seen plenty of, but she's been doing a lot of coverage of the Olympia. I know it's been about 2 weeks, but it's Emma Hyman. Emma, we've just been chatting before we started. You've been putting a lot of content out in regards to reviewing some of the posing we've seen. We've seen Laura Lee, we've seen Maureen. Really great engagement. People are talking. People love it.
Yeah, like I just think it's great that there's so many people just having different conversations, and but interestingly, a lot of people have the same mindset, especially with Laura Lee. Obviously, I don't know if we'll get into that, but you know, I think it was quite not humbling, but it was good to see someone actually be a little bit human. Like, I don't know what's going on personal life wise, but you know, you can't always just be all smiles on stage. Sometimes that can, you know, what's going on personally can override what happens.
Well, funny enough, that is exactly where we're going to start, because we've got 4 different videos we're going to look at of some of the more the conversational pieces where let's create a bit of a debate, but we're going to start straight away. And I do have to shout out Gilco for the content here, because it's obviously on the whole of his page. Yeah. And of course, where we are going to start is with Laura Lee. And look, I do have a question which I'm going to bring up at the end, because I think this question will be relatable to anybody who competes. This is obviously slow motion, but what was your thoughts on what we saw from Laura Lee on a posing perspective? On a posing perspective,
she was divine, as always, when it comes to execution technically. I think what we all noticed was that the energy wasn't there. So this is a really great example of, especially at this standard when it's a pro, you can execute everything perfectly, but if the energy and the confidence isn't there, it's going to affect you at this level. And that is why, you know, we really encourage people to go to the stage coaching workshops, to get on stage as much as you can, to work on that side of the confidence as well, so you're stepping on stage with that true belief in yourself, because otherwise we see it doesn't always match and marry with the posing.
So I want to throw this point then. I think obviously I was there prejudging, and a lot of the comments I was seeing, a lot of feedback was that Laura Lee didn't seem herself. Now, sometimes that could be down to maybe knowing that, okay, I'm not bringing the best package I could bring onto stage, and therefore we know that for a lot of people when they're backstage, it's that realization of maybe, okay, I'm not going to be at it, and that therefore that could affect the energy levels you bring on stage, because maybe there is a defeated mentality already. So my question to yourself, Emma, is for those people who might be in the same position when they're about to step on stage and maybe then they just realize, okay, my best is not going to be good enough, but I still need to bring that energy. What do you do before you step on stage to try and bring that back up after going through that realization?
Do you know what? Essentially, I think it's stepping into character. Think about when, you know, there's an actor on stage, there's a performer on stage, and they've got something, they realize, I don't know, like you said, they're maybe not going to be the best, or their voice isn't sounding as good as it could do. You still got to go on stage and give 100%, right? Because ultimately, you know, if we saw that sparkle in Laura Lee's eyes a little bit more, and we actually saw the self-belief in herself a little bit more, I think there wouldn't have been so much attention drawn to the negative side of the show. Obviously, she looked phenomenal. She looked great, but you know, she did come in softer than than the rest of the girls. So that's got to be hard backstage, especially when you're a reigning champion. That's really hard. But I think that's where you've got to have a good support network around you as well to just drill in that champion mindset mentality. Like, you have to step on stage, go into battle anyway.
So, but going back to my question, so let's take it back on the amateur scene then. Someone who is about to step on stage, and then all of a sudden they've seen the competition around them, and they're like, "Oh God, I'm not going to place maybe where I want to place. Maybe I wanted to win, and now I've just seen if maybe it's a bikini competitor, they're more conditioned, or if it's a classic guy, he's just bigger." What can that person do then to switch into that character to make sure that that negativity that's ringing through their head is out before they step on stage?
Yeah, I think that champion mindset has to be there even before you get to that show day. I think you have to be doing, have tools, have something in the locker where you can tap into that. And I think you've got to remember, it's so much more enjoyable to watch somebody on stage that is shining bright. The physique might not be the best, but it's enjoyable to watch. So I think you've got to remember to go out there and put on a show.
Is there also the element as well then that you may have seen the competition that's next to you and you're like, oh my God, that physique is better than mine. But what you don't know is, can they actually present that physique as well as you can?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you've just got to really try your absolute hardest not to have that defeatist attitude, because essentially, you've picked a sport where you are judged from the moment you step on stage. So fair enough, the physique might not be where it is, but part of your judging is on your stagecraft, it's on your presentation, it's on your stage presence. So bring that, even if you feel like, oh God, I'm not quite as good as the person next to us, because you could potentially outpose someone if you are posing harder than someone else's, or better than how someone else's physique looks, because you don't know how good someone's going to pose, right?
No, exactly. Well, look, the next person I want to bring up is Isa, who, of course, was the reigning wellness champion. And this is 2 shows on a bounce, losing Eduarda at the Arnold's and at the Olympia, but very different from Laura Lee. I think one thing we can see as well is that energy and that sparkle is definitely not being removed from a presentation. From what you've seen from Isa and from what we're seeing right now, what was your thoughts on her presentation? Because people do say that she has the best wellness presentation in the entire pro ranks.
I think her presentation's very good. She switches on with her face the entire time she's on stage. She's got that wellness flair where it's a little bit more flamboyant. Her posing is really nice, but if I do remember rightly, I think I did do a review on Isa, and in the rear pose, I think the feet are too wide. Yeah, and maybe just even bending over a little bit too much. And you can sometimes just flatten out the glute when that happens. So I think it's a really fine line for the girls, especially in this division, because they're obviously looking to showcase as much of those V-tips in the glutes as possible. I think you've got to be careful at how much you bend over in that rear position, so you don't just flatten off and lose the glutes. I do think her posing is really, really fantastic. She's such a joy to watch.
What about I use the word flamboyant? We can see her touching her hair a lot as well. Sometimes there's an extreme where someone can do it too much versus too little. Has she found the right, is she in that Goldilocks zone where the amount of flamboyance that she's doing for a presentation is not taken away from her physique?
Yeah, so I don't think it's too much. I think she's kind of moving the hair at the right moments. Don't feel like it's over flicked around really for me. I think it looks quite nice. Whereas there was other moments with Eduardo where I was like, oh, it's a little bit too much flickiness going on. But I just think this is what the wellness girls bring, right? It's more than the bikini girls. It's more than the figure girls. A lot of them are Brazilian. So they have that flair and that sass, and that's what they bring to stage. And I think that's part of the category.
One thing I want to bring up, I don't know if you saw, I did a post which was during the wellness category in pre-judging, and it was after the first call out where Eduarda, Isa, and a couple of girls were sent to the back, lined up with the rest of the competitors, and this reel got about 1 million views, and it was because what she was doing, I'm really keen to hear your feedback here. What she was doing is she was standing on the side and she wasn't watching the competitors. She held onto a pose, smiling, waving to the crowd as well. You saw other competitors next to her drop their pose, watching the other competitors, but she did not look at the lineup once. I was really keen just to hear your thoughts on what she was doing at the back of the stage while a second call out was going through.
She's performing, right? She is engaging with the audience. And although I think as long as it's not too distracting from the call out or disrespectful to the call out that's on stage, you're not moving around too much. You're not making a show at the side, but you're being subtle. Like you might give a little wave, you're smiling at people in the audience. I think that's part of the stagecraft. And also, you should never come out of character when you're on stage, even when you're stood at the back when there's another call out happening. You should be posing, you should be presenting, you should be smiling and connecting with the judges. And for me, I would want to see everyone on that stage doing that, because when you drop out of character, you drop out of your pose, how does the physique look? It doesn't look as good, right? So we want to make sure everyone needs to take a leaf out of Issa's book, and everyone needs to be in character from the beginning to the end when they're on stage.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm glad I actually caught that when it was going on, and it seemed to be, I think everybody did agree to that perspective. Look, let's look on the men's physique side. One person who is very well known when it comes to posing was Jeremy Buendia, his last ever show as a men's physique competitor. And whatever people say about Jeremy, he is still box office, and he obviously took a top 10 placing at the Olympia. I'm very keen to hear your thoughts on Jeremy, because you've as well, being the posing pro, you've seen Jeremy from day one in 2014 when he became Olympia champion. Have you seen much changes in his posing from what we're seeing here? I mean, he's one that everyone always knows is able to present his physique in the best way.
Yeah, he was someone that's always been iconic in the men's physique division. Always just bringing a little bit more flair. From what I'm watching here, I can see that he is trying to bring even more flair. But I think for the men's physique division now as everyone, all of the categories are pushing the boundaries a little bit more when it comes to posing, right? They're all trying to put more in, give overhead poses when it's not judged. And I think it's a real fine line. I think you really need to make sure you're still executing with, especially for someone like Jeremy, like he is known as such a good poser. You need to make sure when you do get back on stage and you do present, that everything's done to that same standard. For me, this wasn't my most favorite pose and routine that I've seen from Jeremy. I think that he tried to execute poses that aren't from his division and they're more classic, and I think they needed more work.
I want to refer to something. I posted a video of Steve Weinberger, and he was critiquing Ramon Dino, who is now the Classic Physique Olympia champion, when he was over at Powerhouse Gym. And Steve stated that he did not like the crucifix pose that Ramon did because it did not highlight any of his strengths. And some things we see here as well with Jeremy going from one pose to another is that there are certain poses which really is not offering anything to his physique. How important is it that even though you want to try and showcase your physique in the best way and in such a different way, that you always need to be mindful of, is it actually giving the judges what they want to see?
Exactly. And I think it's exactly what you said. Why, especially on such a prestigious stage like the Olympia, would you throw out poses that do not showcase your strongest physique? I would never showcase any kind of weakness. You want to showcase your physique in the best possible angles and poses. And if something doesn't look good, no, don't do it. Not even if it looks like mediocre, if it looks okay. We don't want okay on this stage. And I think you cannot risk showcasing yourself from bad angles. You can't risk that, not at this level. You should be like, if anything, playing it safe.
Is that coming from an element of maybe people copying those who maybe they aspire to achieve, that they are saying, oh wait, they're doing all these other extra transitional poses that all of a sudden, maybe on an amateur scene, if they're not as experienced, they're all of a sudden overcomplicated, and therefore when you look at maybe the 45 seconds they're actually presenting a physique, maybe only 15 or 20 seconds of that is actually presenting their physique at its very best.
Yes, and I think as well, looking at this individual, there's not a whole heap of men's physique poses in there. Like, I don't think he's played up to the men's physique posing criteria. We're seeing obviously the front pose here, but then after that, it's very much so it looks like classic posing. So I think it's super important not to just do what you see other people doing because it looks good on them. You've got to make sure that you're presenting something that looks good on your physique. Don't just follow a trend.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to see if Jeremy does anything else after this. Look, we just spoke about Ramon Dino, and I obviously have to show this because once again, classic physique, we know that you have more opportunity to showcase your physique in so many different ways, but once again, there is that risk where sometimes maybe you're showcasing your weaknesses rather than strengths. Now, I'm very sure you must have seen plenty of videos of Ramon because he's absolutely everywhere. What was your thoughts on Ramon's presentation?
I think what I'm firstly going to say is I think his posing has improved so much since that first time we saw him on the Olympia stage. There was so much going wrong back then. I feel like he's really worked on his craft and he's made huge progressions. I mean, there was stuff he was doing. I think one of the ones that I saw a progressional picture of over the past few years was his side chest, and he was doing so much wrong in it. I remember watching that show and thinking, my God, if he just fixed his posing, his physique would look like 30-40% better. And I think that's really what he's gone away and done. He's really spent time mastering his craft. I think he definitely posed to showcase his physique in a better, in the best light possible. And obviously, I think that's paid off for him.
So you mentioned about there were things that he was, you've seen progression. Can you give me an example of something that the video we're seeing right now? What have you seen as progress from maybe those years where he was struggling to present his physique in the best possible way?
I think a lot of the time when he was posing down, so he was making himself look smaller than actually what he was. And also because he was making the upper body look smaller, let's, for example, talk about a lat spread and showing the width, he was closing himself off and looking slightly smaller. That side chest he's just done there on the floor. He does it a lot better now standing up, but he's just understood how to make his physique pop, how to create that width and taper. If you've got more width and taper, the waist looks smaller, the lower half looks bigger, and everything else pops around it. So I think there's still a little bit of work to do because it's never perfect, right? But I just think what he's doing now is just 10 times better than what we were seeing a couple of years ago.
What's the biggest thing he can work on?
Oh, the biggest thing he can probably work on, judging from this video, I'm going to say, in some of the classic poses, I still think he's posing down a little bit and just not fully nailing them.
What do you mean by posing down?
Making himself smaller when he poses. So when we pose down, it means that we might not be fully opening through the lats. We might be closing ourselves down a little bit. And when he's just done this overhead pose here, again, he's not fully opened up. So there's still refinement to happen there. But like I said, on the whole, so much better.
Definitely. Excellent. Well, look, we just kind of touched on 4 of the physiques that are probably more talked about physiques. This weekend, we have the Prague Pro. Now, one thing I know we're going to do for next week is we are definitely going to look at Keon's presentation as an open competitor, because I'm very interested to see if he presents his physique maybe in a different way, knowing the fact that he has Samson to go up against, who's probably 80 pounds heavier than him. We're going to see Terence Ruffin, where we've already seen a sneak peek of his posing routine. We're going to showcase the full thing next week. I'm really keen to hear your thoughts on that. And also, what we're going to try and do as well, I'm going to try to put a video of Jazzy Gonzalez, who is obviously now coming from the States, and Victoria, who is number 2 in the world when it comes to as a European pro. I'm very interested to see presentation-wise, some people say can presentation be different for European versus Americans. We're going to showcase that. So we're going to definitely look back at the Prague Pro. In the meantime, what is going on your side now? We're getting towards, it's still a busy season. We're still in a busy period, lots of shows.
Really busy.
What events have you got coming up on your side?
Yeah, so we've got the stage coaching workshop, which is actually not going to be until the 1st of March, but it's an absolute game changer. I think we can see from the stagecraft and the presentation, we see from the girls, it's so super clear that we need to make sure we're working on our stagecraft to make sure we tick all those boxes on show day. Apart from that, you know, we've got the Pose and Pro Academy where you can get your weekly check-ins, and the one-to-ones at the moment. I'm just crazy busy with one-to-ones.
What anything new you've added to the app?
Only
videos?
well, apart from the fit model, the tutorials are all available for the fit model division,
awesome.
as well as all of your other tutorials as well. So yeah, lots going on in the academy. Weekly check-ins are proven to just be so super useful for athletes as well. It gives you that week-to-week accountability to make sure you're practicing your posing. And I think it's just a perfect blend between having, you know, like a monthly one-to-one session, but then still having your weekly check-in. So the standard of posing has been very, very high so far this season, I would say.
Excellent. Well, look, we'll see you guys next week where we'll do a recap of the Prague Pro. And as always, please make sure you click on the bio link, which I'm going to include Emma's details. So if you ever want to find out more information about the stage workshop, or maybe you're international and you just want to look at the app, because maybe something that you really want to have is that